The Hey Eddie podcast is brought to you by... Are you tired of people asking you trick questions?
Do you like Mom or Dad better? Did you eat the last cookie? Why is your brother crying?
There's no good answer. You're trapped. Well, not anymore. Introducing trap-proof question helmets. When someone asks a tricky question, just push the button on the side and whoosh! A tiny fog machine goes off, giving you 3 whole seconds to think of a really smart answer. It's like having a brain, but foggier. Trap-proof question helmets, because not everyone can be as clever as Jesus. Helmets do not actually make you smarter. Fog may set off smoke detectors, not responsible for answers that still get you in trouble. Ask your parents before fogging the living room. This is the Hey Eddie podcast. I'm your host, Cousin Michael. The Hey Eddie podcast is dedicated to helping kids like my cool cousin Eddie learn about the Bible and learn important lessons about God, about Jesus, and about life. The Bible is indeed God's gift to kids, a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. On today's episode of the Hey Eddie podcast, we're going to be studying Mark chapter 12, verses 13 through 17, in a lesson titled, The Trick Question. This lesson will teach us that you belong to God, and He deserves your whole self, not just a little piece. Our key memory verse is Mark chapter 12, verse 17. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. Hey Eddie, have you ever had someone ask you a question that felt like a trap? Like maybe Cousin Michael asks, do you want the last cookie, or do you want to be a good cousin? And you're like, wait a minute, both of those answers get me in trouble. Well, today's story is about some sneaky guys who tried to trap Jesus with the ultimate trick question. No matter how he answered, they thought he'd get in big trouble. But guess what? Jesus was way smarter than they expected. And his answer was so good that it left everyone standing there with their mouths hanging open. Ready? Let's go. Jesus was still in the temple, teaching and answering questions. The religious leaders, the chief priests, scribes, and elders, were furious with him. He had just told that story about the wicked farmers, and they knew it was about them. They wanted to arrest Jesus right then and there, but they couldn't because the crowds loved him too much. So they came up with a sneaky plan. They sent 2 groups of people to trap Jesus with his own words. The first group was the Pharisees, super religious guys who were very strict about following God's laws. The second group was the Herodians, people who supported King Herod and got along pretty well with the Romans. Now here's the funny thing, Eddie. These 2 groups actually hated each other. The Pharisees thought the Romans were terrible and polluting God's land. The Herodians were basically on the Romans' team. But today, they joined forces because they both wanted to take Jesus down. The Pharisees and Herodians walked up to Jesus with big fake smiles on their faces. "Teacher," they said, "we know that you're a man of integrity. You don't care what anyone thinks of you. You don't play favorites. You just teach the truth about God." Now, Eddie, everything they said was actually true about Jesus, but they didn't mean it. They were just buttering him up so that he'd let his guard down. It's like when a girl says, "You're so smart and so cool," and you know she's about to ask to borrow your favorite toy. These guys were being total phonies. And then came the trap. They asked Jesus, "Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay or shouldn't we?" Okay, Eddie, let me explain why this question was so sneaky. Caesar was the emperor of Rome, the guy in charge of the whole Roman Empire, and the Romans were controlling Israel at this time. They made Jewish people pay a special tax called a poll tax, basically money that went straight to Caesar. A lot of Jewish people hated this tax. It reminded them that they weren't free. They were being bossed around by foreigners who didn't believe in God. Some people even started wars over this tax. So here's the trap. If Jesus said, "Yes, pay the tax," the crowd would get mad at him. They'd think, "Wait, You're supposed to be on God's side, not Caesar's side. But if Jesus said, no, don't pay the tax, the Herodians would run straight to the Roman soldiers and say, this guy is telling people not to pay taxes. He's starting a rebellion. And Jesus would be arrested for treason. See, no matter which answer he gave, he'd be in trouble. The Pharisees and Herodians probably high-fived each other. We've got him now. But Jesus knew exactly what they were doing. He looked at them and said, why are you trying to trap me? Busted. Then he said something unexpected. Bring me a denarius and let me look at it. A denarius was a Roman coin, about a day's wages for a worker. Someone pulled one out of their pocket and handed it to Jesus. Now here's the thing, Eddie. They were standing in the temple, God's holy place, and these guys had a Roman coin in their pockets. That coin had a picture of Caesar on it, and it had words that basically said Caesar was a god. By pulling out that coin, they showed that they already used Caesar's money. They already did business with Rome. So why are they asking Jesus if it was okay? Jesus held the coin and asked, whose face is on this? Whose name is written here? They answered, Caesar's. And then Jesus said something so brilliant that nobody could argue with it. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. Boom! Let's break that down. First part, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. The coin had Caesar's face on it. Caesar made it. It's his money. If you're using his money and benefiting from his roads and his government, then yeah, pay the tax. It's just money. Give it back to him. Second part, give to God what is God's. But here's the big one. What belongs to God? Well, Eddie, the Bible says that you are made in God's image. Just like Caesar's face was stamped on that coin, God's image is stamped on you. You belong to him. So while Caesar might get a few coins, God gets everything else. Your heart, your love, your whole life. Jesus was saying, sure, pay your taxes, but don't forget you belong to God. Give him what really matters. When Jesus finished speaking, the Pharisees and Herodians just stood there. The Bible says they were amazed. Their perfect trap, completely busted. Jesus didn't say yes or no. He gave an answer that was so wise, so perfect, that nobody could argue with it. He didn't start a rebellion against Rome, but he also didn't say Caesar was more important than God. He put everything in its proper place. Caesar can have his little coins, but God gets us. The Pharisees and Herodians walked away with nothing. Their trick question totally backfired. So what does this mean for you? First, don't let people trap you with fake choices. Sometimes people make it sound like you only have two options, and both are bad. But Jesus shows us there's often a better answer that nobody thought of. Ask God for wisdom. Second, watch out for fake flattery. Those guys said nice things to Jesus, but they didn't mean it. When someone is being extra sweet and then asks you to do something sketchy, pay attention. Not everyone who sounds nice is nice. Third, money isn't the most important thing. Jesus basically said, it's just a coin. Give it to Caesar. Who cares? But your heart, your life, that's what really matters. Don't get too attached to stuff. It's all just coins and toys and things that don't last. Fourth, you belong to God. Just like Caesar's image was on that coin, God's image is on you. You were made by him, for him. That means you owe God your love, your obedience, your whole self, not just a little bit, but everything. Fifth, give God what's his. It's easy to give God an hour on Sunday and then forget about him the rest of the week. But Jesus says, give God what belongs to him, and that's all of you. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your love. So the next time someone asks you a tricky question and you don't know what to say, remember, ask God for wisdom. He'll help you find the answer. that's true and good and right. And never forget whose image you carry. You belong to God. This has been the Hey Eddie Podcast. I'm your host, Cousin Michael. Remember that the Hey Eddie Podcast is dedicated to studying the Bible and learning important lessons about God, about Jesus, and about life. Today we discussed Mark chapter 12, verses 13 through 17. Tune in soon for another episode of the Hey Eddie Podcast, where we'll study Mark chapter 12, verses 18 through 27. Love you, Eddie.